Yo, what is up guys? James the Buzzard, and I know in our previous video where I was kind of introducing our Canon AF35M, I told you guys that I was going to post a separate video of me actually cleaning this camera up and getting it ready to be film tested. So in this video, that's exactly what we're going to be doing. So I'm not going to waste any time getting this thing set up. The first thing that you guys are going to want to do is actually get that thing battery tested. Now, this camera is ready to be battery tested because it does not have any corrosion here in the battery tray. If this thing had corrosion in the battery tray, that's the very first thing I'm going to show you guys how to clean, because if you guys can't get this clean without taking the camera fully apart, which usually if there's a ton of corrosion deep down inside the camera, you guys will actually need to disassemble the camera because there can be corrosion that leads into the contacts or where those terminals actually go next. But what I would do in that situation, guys, if you had dirty battery terminals or dirty contacts for your guys' battery, if it's not that bad, what you guys can use is some distilled white vinegar. Just pour a tiny bit in your guys' cap, just a tiny bit, just a few drops, enough to just get the tip of your, enough to really just get the tip of your Q-tip a little wet. You don't even want it wet enough to drip, is how wet you guys want to get this thing, all right? So from here, guys, I am just going to take this Q-tip and I am going to clean off that whole battery surface. Now, this actually is taking off a little bit of some old corrosion and stuff like this, but overall, this camera, inside of here, it was either left without any batteries in it, or it has just been very well taken care of over a long period of time. So I got super lucky with mine without having corroded battery terminals, but most of the cameras that I see that are for sale have some kind of corroded battery terminals in the pictures, especially the ones on eBay. So just be aware of how to actually clean these off. All you're gonna do is take that distilled white vinegar, wipe it across those terminals. You guys are gonna see the acidity in the distilled white vinegar is gonna slowly help take off all that corrosion and all of the battery acid, whatever that stuff is. It's gonna take it all right off. And then all you guys got to do from there is use the other side of your Q-tip and really make sure that that surface is completely dry of any of that distilled white vinegar. When you guys are going into the inside of your guys' camera to get the contacts that are deep down inside of here, if I can get that on camera, when you guys are going deep down into the inside of your guys' camera, make sure that you don't have too much distilled white vinegar on the tip of your guys' Q-tips. You don't want any of that actually seeping down and getting into any of the components, because over time, the acidity that's of the distilled white vinegar can actually start to negatively affect components inside of your camera. So once you guys are done, make sure it's completely dried off, and then you guys are gonna finalize that by taking out some 99% alcohol, and I'm just gonna get a little bit here on a fresh new Q-tip, and we're just gonna wipe off any potential distilled white vinegar that's on there. Again, you don't want any of this alcohol staying on there. You just wanna use it to wipe off the distilled white vinegar. And when you're done with that, you can use the other side of your Q-tip and make sure you get that thing all dried off. Now, again, guys, if you guys wanted to, the alcohol is gonna, dissipate on its own, but if you wanted to, you guys can use your blower or hair dryer or something like that and really make sure that this, the contacts and the inside of your camera is completely dried and blowed out. Now, my blower is extremely powerful, so I'm not gonna use it on any of the internal components on my blower. I'm gonna be using this little guy instead. Now that we kind of went over that, which I do not have terribly bad contacts, that would be the first thing I would test, or the first thing I would check is the contact area. If that area can be cleaned, make sure that you guys clean it real good with that distilled white vinegar. and a Q-tip. From there, once it's all dry and ready to go, which this thing is already dry, you guys can actually pop in some batteries and you guys can do a quick battery test of your guys' camera. So I'm just gonna show you guys a quick little battery test. I'm gonna pop up the flash. It makes it easy for me to know if this thing is working or not. I'm gonna wait until this camera turns orange. This camera on the back of it, it's gonna turn orange. That's how you guys know that the flash is ready to be operated. And bam. We can take our picture. I can see the little gauge moving in there to the portrait line. Now that it's actually ready to be film tested, let me show you guys all the rest of the stuff that we're gonna be using to help get this camera clean. We're done with our distilled vinegar if we're done cleaning off all the corrosion on the contacts. So the first product that you guys are gonna be using is 99% isopropyl alcohol. This is gonna be used to just, clean off dirt, grime, all that kind of stuff. And it also dissipates, so you guys don't have to worry about it drying inside the camera or, being like water and not dissipating quickly. I did show you guys the distilled vinegar, but we're not gonna be using that for anything else on this camera. And we're gonna be using this IPA mix. Now an IPA mix is simply just isopropyl alcohol and water. I have mine mixed 50-50, so 1-to-1 dilution ratio. If you guys wanted to use a lower dilution ratio, you can go as low as like 30% alcohol or so. But yeah, depending on what alcohol you're using too, you got to think about that for your dilution ratio, because it is already mixed with, I believe, distilled water. Moving on from there, guys, we have some Zeist wipes. These I'm just going to use to quickly help clean off the lens. I also have some paper towels if we need some paper towels. I have a whole bunch of Q-tips because I know we are gonna need some Q-tips in order to get this camera clean and get into all the little nooks and crannies, especially around the lens and around the where the filter threads are and stuff like that. Along with that, guys, I also have this tiny little detailing brush. This detailing brush is something that we use for our detailing business, so I just have extra ones laying around, but you guys can use something like a paintbrush or anything super small with nice soft bristles. To blow off and dry stuff, I'm actually just gonna use this little lens blower or one of these little guys that I have. And if you guys, typically shoot photo, you guys probably already have one of these laying around. And I'm gonna be using some microfiber cloths. I'm just using microfiber cloths because they're lint-free if you guys keep them clean. Sometimes I wash these particular ones with other towels and rags and stuff, so they probably do have a little bit of lint on them, but for the most part, they're lint-free, supposed to be. Now that we have our batteries cleaned off, I want to start by, I think, cleaning all the small little details around this camera. So I'm just going to start that off by actually just giving this thing like a dry dusting. And that's just going to leave us with all the really more caked on dirt and grime. There's a whole bunch of little areas on this camera that just have a whole bunch of dust in them. So I'm gonna knock off all the dust that we can get off with this brush. So I'm not really using the brush for the lens itself. I just wanna use it for around the lens. And you should probably be doing this upside down, guys, but just for the purpose of this demo, I'm doing this the complete upside down way. But normally you would want to be doing this and brushing everything upside down onto the table or wherever, just not right back onto your camera. So I'm just gonna finish dusting this thing off, getting all these little nooks and crannies done, getting this grip. There's a whole bunch of, all the little lines inside the grip. You might have to go both ways to get in there good. That's how we're gonna clean off the majority of this camera, and then we're gonna come back in with our Q-tips. And now I'm gonna go ahead and pop this open, and only because there is a good amount of dust on this left side, which this is where the actual film cartridge goes, I'm just gonna dust out the bottom of that, because that side did have a decent amount of dust in there. And we're just gonna lightly go across this bottom part, come in here, grab any dust that we can find. And the nice part about these brushes, or even just a paintbrush or something like that, is it's gonna leave one of these longer, bigger, bristly things in there, which you can easily just pick out with your fingers, versus all this little micro dust, as I like to call it, that kind of collects inside of there. So we're getting rid of all the micro dust and stuff like that, and we may get a bristle or two, but those are super easily removed just with your finger or just with a little more brushing. And I'm staying away from where this shutter is, because in this shutter area, we're gonna tip it upside down, and we're gonna blow everything out, especially that shutter area. And now we can just blow out the whole rest of it. So yeah, make sure that is blown out really, really well, and go ahead and close that film door. And that interior is about as clean as we want to do on the interior, unless there's like dirt, grime, or any reason to go in there any further with something like a little alcohol on a Q-tip. But if there's no like corrosion or anything that you're going after, don't use your products or your chemicals at this time. So now that we got the inside clean, and our lens area is looking way, way, way better than it was before. Even just with the dusting, honestly, did a ton to it. I'm really happy about that, because I thought it would be caked down there a little bit more than it was, but you guys can see how much dust and stuff is just on this table at this point, which we should probably try to clean up a little bit. All right. Now that we got that cleaned up, guys, I want to actually go after this lens. And to go after this lens, it really isn't that dirty. So typically I would use the 99% alcohol the first time cleaning a lens like this, and I just got way too much on there, so I'm just gonna use this paper towel to blot some off. First, I'm gonna go around the rim of this guy, and keep in mind, this is such an old camera that you just don't wanna apply too much pressure or anything like that. I'm gonna clean this little, I'm not sure what that little element right there is for, but I'm sure it's important. So we're just gonna gently go over this part, and I am going to just do the outside of this lens, just real gently. And normally I would be doing this again upside down, but just so you guys can see this on this camera, I'm gonna do it that way. And I'm gently just wiping down this lens. I am gonna do this mostly upside down. I just don't wanna get any moisture inside this lens. We're just gonna do little puffs at first till it's nice and dry, and then we can do some big puffs. Make sure all the dust is off of that area. And I'm gonna go one more time around the outside inside of these filter threads. And then we can just blow that off as well. And now that's looking super, super clean, but The next part that is looking pretty dirty is these little elements here for the autofocus system, and pretty much the whole rest of these front little plastic glassy pieces. So I'm going to put that Q-tip to the side, grab myself a fresh new Q-tip, give it a dunk and a blot, and now we can go after these little areas. I'm going to just go around the outside real quick, and then do a quick pass over the inside. Maybe do that corner one more time. And I'm going to come in and immediately dry this edge. And we're going to do the same thing with this little piece right here. Give it a quick dry. And that is it for that little part. Those are our little autofocus windows, and now those look nice and clean all the way to the corners of the glass. Nice. And I'm going to go ahead and grab one extra Q-tip. Quick little dunk. Blot as much of that off as possible. And this is where we're going to clean this little eyepiece. I'm just kind of spinning it at the same time. Really just trying to get that eyepiece nice and clean. It had a ton of just nasty stuff in there. So let's get these corners cleaned out. Get around here. Might as well get the little window right here as well. Get all the little details. All right. Just gonna go ahead and try to get this little detail in here, pull that down a little bit. And we're gonna clean this off too, but I want to close that film door. Don't want any more dust getting in there. And now that looks much better already. Go ahead and clean this shutter button. This little guy. So yeah, just going around all these little details. I'm gonna pop the flash up. Make sure this guy's good to go. Now that we got most of all those little details taken care of, all right. Now we can take our IPA mix And I'm just gonna, ooh, that's a stream, not a, we're just gonna put a little bit on the towel. Make sure there's not too much on there. Now we can give it a proper wipe down. So we just got this thing all wiped down and grease free, but I want to do one last thing just to our lens here real quick. And that is just give it a quick wipe with these Zeist wipes. These are my favorite lens cleaning wipes out there. They do a super good job. They don't really leave any kind of residue or anything like that. And they're just really handy being in a little wipe container, little, you know, packet. Kind of like those little things they gave you when you were a kid with your chicken nuggets. Back when I was a kid. They don't do that anymore. Anyways, let's just make sure these front little elements are clean as well with our Zeist wipe. Nice part about these is they don't scratch and they do not leave a residue. And we might as well make a little pointer guy with this and get in here in the back. Now that we got through all those quick little steps, we started off with the white vinegar to go after the battery contacts. That way we could get this thing battery tested. After that, you guys are going to go ahead and clean off all the little details, clean around the lens, get all the big dust particles off with your duster or your paint brush, something like that, that can get into all the little nooks and crannies. After that, you guys can go ahead and, you know, really wipe down the camera. Get the majority of the grease and grime off of that with some kind of alcohol mix. That is how I would go about cleaning one of these Canon AutoBoys, or just cleaning any 35mm camera in general, in order to get battery tested and now ready for film to be put in. If you guys have not seen the past video that I just posted where I introduced the Canon AutoBoy, and you know, I did show a tiny bit of this video that's going to be going into it, but if you guys haven't seen that video, I'm actually going to be putting some film in it for the very first time and getting those first couple little test shots off to roll the film over, and then I probably took a picture in here somewhere, did something. But anyways, if you guys want to check out that video, it's already posted here on the channel. Be on the lookout for more film related content. This is something that I'm super interested in and want to do a little bit more of in 2023 and just moving forward in general. And that is pretty much all I had for today's video. So I will see you guys in the next one. Peace. Almost forgot. Right now, this camera is obviously super clean, way better than it was when we first got it. But there was one thing that I wanted to add to this camera, and I just got it, so I figure why not add this in this video. I'm not gonna show me opening it and all that kind of stuff. So this camera is from eBay. We got it for 10 bucks. On eBay. We had to pay, I think, $8 or so for shipping. So it was about 18 bucks, 20 bucks or so total. But we got the Canon AutoBoy 2. This is the second Canon AutoBoy, which at this point in time, it did have the Sure Shot branding on it. But, ooh, there's something nasty on here too. Oh, God. I told you guys, these eBay cameras always come with the corrosion and stuff, but there we go, it opened. The inside really doesn't look bad other than that terrible, terrible, terrible corrosion. But I didn't buy this camera for the camera itself. The main reason I got this camera was for this strap. And the strap really doesn't look in as bad a condition as I thought it might be. So we might not even steam it, but I might just put it on for the video so you guys can see what it's gonna look like. But I am kind of thinking about cleaning it. It probably hasn't been cleaned in the last, what, 40-something years? Probably also has not been taken off of this camera. Doing a giant shoelace or something. All right. And let's get that back through. And we did it right. And there we go, guys. Yeah, overall for a 40-something-year-old camera, I'm just really, really, really impressed by how well this thing stayed put together. The grip stayed glued on. The inside, the internals seem to work just fine. And yeah, I'm really, really excited to put some film in this guy. So I hope you guys got something out of today's video. I know it was a little bit long, maybe a little bit boring, but cleaning one of these old cameras is definitely important. And I hope you guys got some information about like kind of just the best basic practices to try out first on getting one of these cameras clean and ready to actually be tested. But if you guys have anything that you guys do differently when you guys are cleaning your 35mm cameras, leave it down in the description down below. This is a brand new journey for me, and you guys are kind of taking the ride along with me. So I really appreciate you guys being here, and I appreciate you guys leaving any input or leaving any comments down in the comment section. That way other people can get that information as well, and we can all kind of learn and grow on this new little journey I'm taking together. That is all I have for today. I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.